This is JK Philosophy. Welcome to my channel. About a week ago, the president of Uganda, Mr. Museveni, he was addressing, I think, what happened to be a university. He was addressing the students and he was talking to them. And in there, he said something which I do not agree with, and that is why I'm going to respond to it. So in there, he was speaking in Kiswahili, so I'm just going to translate it. He was addressing the Muslim students or the Muslims people of Uganda, and he told them that it's okay to be a Muslim, but the traditions of the Arabs should not be brought in Uganda. And you might be asking, which traditions are these? And he said the tradition of blowing themselves up. He was referring to terrorist activities. So to him and to many people in the world, they think that thanks to Western propaganda, they have this preconceived notion that it is the Arabs or it was the Muslims who started terrorism or the art of blowing themselves up or suicide attacks, you know. So I just wrote on my paper, and these are actually factual events which happened historically, which states I have 5 accounts here of the first suicide bombers and also the first suicide attacks, and you realize that all of these were not made by any Arabs or any Muslims. In fact, most of these were made by Europeans. Of course, I'm quoting Wikipedia. The first historical suicide attack was made by the Jewish sect called Sikari against the Hellenized Jews. So these were the first ever suicide attacks, and this was in the 1st century. Okay, so thousands of years from where we are today. The second one, the first suicide bomber ever in history, was conducted by an Eastern European by the name Ignaty Grinevitsky. Okay, in 1860 and in 1904, a suicide bomber killed Vyacheslav von Plehne, who was a Russian minister. So these are the first suicide bombers. It was done by a European, and it wasn't done by a Muslim or an Arab. Okay, the earliest known non-military suicide attack occurred in New Zealand, orchestrated by Joseph Sewell, where he blowed himself up with a dynamite outside the courtyard. So again, another European guy who blew himself up. He wasn't a Muslim. Number 4, in the late 17th century, Dutch soldiers blew themselves up over the control of Taiwan in 1661. So today, I think the United States of America are the ones who are controlling Taiwan via proxy. So you realize that since 1661, the Europeans wanted to control Taiwan, and they were actually blowing themselves up. These are Europeans, these are Christians, they are not Muslims. Okay, lastly, in 1780, an Indian woman set herself on fire and jumped into an armory of the East India Company, which was subsequently blew up. So all these, you'll see that President Museveni, who I actually respect and I agree with most of his policies, but when it comes to when he said that this is the traditions of Muslims or Arabs to blow themselves up, we realize that it has no any historical basis, that majority of the people who used suicide attack and blew themselves up were actually Europeans. And let's not forget, in the, I think it was in the 1940s, Second World War, that the Japanese kamikaze, who were jet fighters, they flew the planes right onto the American Navy. I think they also did it in Pearl Harbor. So these are also Japanese who used suicide attacks to blow themselves up against Americans. And when it comes to invading other people, nations and countries, we realize that right now the people who are in the front lines of invading other people, with just a few examples, I can tell you that during the Iraqi war, millions of people were killed by the United States of America. Vietnam War, again, millions of people were killed by United States of America for no reasons at all, only for resources and power. okay, in Iraq, Syria, Palestine, in Afghanistan. Hundreds of thousands of people were killed for more than 20 years. And even today you'll see that a lot of Afghani children are crippled. They have no legs. You'll see their kids with no legs, kids with no limbs. So things to do with invasion of people's country, we do not have a monopoly when it comes to this. It's something which is being done by different people and not just the Arabs or the Muslims. Alright guys, so with that I'm going to end it here. Please subscribe to my channel so that you can get more information.